I'm talking about the rumor out there that at some of Trump's public appearances with his wife Melania, the First Lady deploys a body double. Just imagine the idea of Donald Trump replacing his wife. Come on.
This weekend, the long-anticipated documentary Melania will hit theaters. According to the Wall Street Journal, Melania pocketed $28 million of the licensing fee for the film. You know, between this and her marriage, she's probably the highest-paid actress in the world.
First Lady Melania Trump's documentary Melania is set to open tomorrow across 1,500 theaters in select markets. Great news if you're looking for a place to hide out from ICE.
A film promoted on a global scale, backed by tens of millions of dollars in marketing, supported by a major corporation and a famous political family. Yet when it reached theaters, some locations sold exactly one ticket. In the United Kingdom, a market expected to be a key international stronghold, the numbers were quickly shocking. Box office revenue was virtually non-existent. Some theaters reported selling just a single ticket for an entire screening. In that context, many cinemas were forced to move Melania into their smallest screening rooms, not as an artistic decision, but to minimize the visual impact of rows of empty seats, something no marketing campaign could possibly conceal. What makes this more striking is that the failure did not happen quietly. It came after Amazon MGM Studios reportedly spent around $35 million on a global promotional campaign, an amount large enough to turn almost any political documentary into a media event. Instead, the opposite occurred. The more the film was promoted, the more obvious the public's lack of interest became. This led to an even more controversial next step: allegations of ticket padding to salvage the film's image. According to multiple sources, organizations and clubs linked to the Republican Party purchased tickets in bulk, in some cases buying out entire screenings to prevent images of empty theaters from spreading on social media. The tickets were then distributed for free or sold at symbolic prices to members and invited guests. Yet even under this scenario of artificially created demand, the results remained poor. Many screenings were still sparsely attended, suggesting that the problem was not ticket prices but a genuine lack of public interest. Alongside the box office collapse, professional indicators also turned negative. Early projections suggested the film's Rotten Tomatoes score could fall below 20%, an extremely low level for a heavily funded documentary backed by major corporations. Critics described the film as lacking depth, overly self-promotional, and failing to offer new information compelling enough to engage neutral audiences. More importantly, market analysts were nearly unanimous in concluding that Melania had little to no chance of financial success. Perhaps the greatest paradox, however, lies in the political context surrounding the film. Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed that he received the support of 73 million American voters, a massive figure, often used to project the image of a loyal and mobilized mass movement. Yet when compared with the reality of ticket sales for a film bearing his wife's name, the contrast becomes almost absurd. If tens of millions of people were truly emotionally invested in the Trump brand, why were theaters so empty? This contradiction not only fueled mockery on social media, but also raised serious questions about the depth of support beyond the electoral arena. Once the box office numbers could no longer be hidden, the story around Melania quickly entered a new phase: open ridicule. At that point, an ordinary commercial failure began to take on political meaning. Photos of empty seating charts and short videos of silent, nearly vacant theaters spread online at a speed far exceeding any official promotional content. Stand-up comedians, political influencers, and commentary channels rapidly turned Melania into a punchline. The film was no longer discussed as a cinematic product, but as evidence of the disconnect between the message the Trump family wanted to project and society's actual response. Donald Trump, though not appearing directly as the central figure, cast a shadow over the entire project. He was widely reported to have used Truth Social and his personal influence to promote the film, urging support from loyal followers. Yet this very intervention reinforced the perception of Melania not as a personal documentary, but as a thinly veiled political propaganda tool. And when audiences feel they are being sold a message rather than told a story, the typical reaction is to walk away. The failure of Melania is no longer just about content quality or marketing strategy. It has become a case study in the limits of political power when it crosses into popular culture. An election campaign can mobilize voters through polarization, identity, and opposition. A film, however, requires something else: curiosity, empathy, or at least a desire for entertainment. That is not something the Trump brand automatically delivers. The harder the project tried to prove its appeal, the more glaring the contradiction became. Trump often cited the 73 million votes as proof of overwhelming support. Melania unintentionally became a different kind of test. A test of support without pressure, without ballots, based purely on the voluntary act of paying for a ticket. The result was deeply awkward. If tens of millions were truly emotionally committed, selling a few tens of thousands of tickets should not have been a challenge. This stark contrast led many observers to argue that Melania exposed an uncomfortable truth. Political support does not equal cultural interest. A person may vote for a candidate as the lesser evil for policy positions, or simply in opposition to the other side. That does not mean they want to spend their free time watching a self-promotional film about that political family. By placing these two realities side by side, Melania turned itself into a vivid illustration. Meanwhile, the response from the production team and loyal supporters only deepened the problem. Blaming hostile media, a manipulated market, or political bias failed to explain why tickets did not sell even in conservative areas. These justifications, rather than easing criticism, reinforced the impression that the film was attempting to escape reality through a parallel narrative. There is also a personal irony worth noting. On an individual level, Melania Trump may not be a financial loser. Licensing deals and production costs were reportedly secured in advance. But the failure of Melania lies not on a balance sheet. It lies in its symbolic value. A project expected to soften public perception and reframe the image as more relatable ultimately achieved the opposite effect. For the Republican Party and the broader Trump ecosystem, Melania serves as a clear warning. It shows that the ability to mobilize support in the political arena does not easily translate into influence in cultural space. In the social media era, where negative reactions spread faster than paid promotion, every campaign faces a test of authenticity, and Melania did not pass that test.